What's up, everybody? It's Austin here with Dreamcatcher Guides and Dreamcatchers Fishing Supply. Subscribe to our channel for great fishing content. Hanging out in the shop today. If there's anything you see in this video, you can call us 828-354-0250 and we'll ship it to you. Thanks. All right, so we're in kind of middle of fall right now. It's late October, almost November. Halloween, I think, is tomorrow. So whenever you're watching this, Today I'm going to be talking about my favorite wintertime baits on herring lakes. I picked a bunch off the shelf, got some stuff used that I pulled off of some rods, but pretty much I'm gonna go over what my customers will be throwing and what our best sellers will be in the shop this time of the year. So when I think about wintertime fishing, I think about fish getting really grouped up, and I think about them getting in areas where they don't have to travel super far distances to find the food, right? So what's the food? What are they searching for in the wintertime? A lot of times on our lakes, blueback herring lakes, they're hunting herring, herring or 4 to 6 inch bait fish. They have that kind of dark olive green, almost like a blue back, and that real pearl iridescent belly. And then they're hunting threadfin shad. When I'm thinking about herring lakes in the wintertime, I'm thinking about fish finding threadfin and herring and trout for some of the lakes, truthfully. So when I'm picking my baits, I'm trying to match the hatch, all right? So I'm trying to throw baits that are between 3 and 6 inches. They have a lot of white, a lot of pearl in them. I like to pick my colors based on how sunny it is or how cloudy it is. If it's sunny, I like to go with something that's very reflective or chrome, or in a swim bait, I like it to be real natural. And if it's cloudy, I like it to be real pearly, bone, or white. So one of my first go-tos, this head kind of came out just recently. It's the Okashira screw head by Megabass. They make it in 1/8 ounce, and I'm pairing that up with a Kitech 2.8, and sometimes I pair it up with a Megabass Haze Dong shad. The reason why I like this Okashira head is it has just a little bit of vibration with that prop on the head. So as that thing's swimming naturally, if you've never thrown a Kitech, the Kitech's tail is just super natural. The bait looks super natural in the water. But mixed with that head gives off just a little bit of vibration. And what you get is a really finesse presentation with like a small presentation, but a very natural action and natural vibration in the water. When those fish are really lethargic, or they're grouped up on a point, or they're on the bottom, and you throw this, let it get down to the bottom, or let it, I'm using Panoptic so I can see my bait sinking down. I let it get maybe a foot above the bottom, and I just reel this thing really slow. And rod tip up, spinning rod, light line, 6 to 8 pound test, and I'll just feel it go tick. And when I do, I reel down, set the hook. This is a great technique, a great lure, great presentation to catch finicky fish in the wintertime. All right, to go along with that Okashira screw head, another one of my favorites is just simply a plain old normal head, right? This is the Kitech tungsten head. This is on a 2/0 hook. I like to throw a Kitech 3.3, or I like to throw the Kitech 2.8 on it. Either one's really good, but the key with this is it's tungsten, so it's not as bulky as lead, so I can have a heavier bait and a smaller profile. And once again, I love the small bait fish imitators. A lot of times, it doesn't matter whether you're on Lake Cherokee, you're on Lake Hartwell, Lake Jocassee, Lake Lanier. You guys saw Paul Mueller win down there at Lake Lanier on the Elite Series a couple years ago. The deal is super finessey swim bait with a tungsten head. You can throw that booger out there, it sinks fast, gets to where it needs to get, and it's a small profile. This is a great technique. So opposed to the Okashira screw head that has a little prop giving it vibration, I'm going even simpler and more natural. This is really good too, because sometimes in the wintertime they're schooling fish. That little head, little bait profile, it's cutting through the air. It's super aerodynamic when you're casting. You can get on those schooling fish that are keyed in on little bait and make it happen. So the Kitech tungsten head, tungsten jig head with a small Kitech 2.8 or 3.3. All right, another one of my favorite little bait fish imitators is an underspin. So this one specifically is the fish head threadfin spin. You ever heard of it? You probably haven't. I actually partnered with Fish Head to produce this lure. My good friend, my good buddy John Nita is the owner of Fish Head. And I told him, I said, hey man, I think you guys need to do something, maybe diversify the underspin a little bit by making a smaller underspin. This is a 1/0 hook, a tiny little 1/0 hook on a 1/4 ounce head, and once again, just bait fish imitator. I'm throwing it on a Kitech 3.3, a Kitech 2.8, and I'm really trying to downsize my bait profile, make it look as natural as possible. I have caught some wickedly huge bags of fish on lakes that are notoriously known for having smaller fish. One winter we had 19 pounds on Fontana with the threadfin spin, Lake Chattooga with my wife in the dead of winter. It was 19 degrees, the water temperature was like 42 degrees. My wife and I had 19 pounds of spotted bass. All of it was on the threadfin spin. So this is without question one of my favorites in the wintertime when it's real cold. I also like the bigger underspin right here, right? So this is the infamous fish head underspin. You know, Casey Ashley won Lake Hartwell Bassmaster Classic a few years ago on the underspin. It's a great bait to throw in the wintertime. I like to throw a Kitech 3.8 with it, or even a fluke. And when I'm throwing this, I am imitating herring. I tend to notice fish that are more off the bottom and more willing to chase the bait. So it's a little bit bulkier of a presentation, has more vibration, that willow leaf blade on it. I'm looking for fish that are up in the water column. So maybe I'm in a ditch down in, I don't know, 30, 40 foot of water. You know, it comes off a middle of a pocket. There's a piece of brush or boulder or a main creek channel down there. I'm seeing those fish kind of suspended up off it and seeing some bait around. I'm taking this underspin, the 1/2 ounce or the 3/8 ounce on a 3.8 Kitech bait caster, 12-pound test. Some guys say 10 pound. I'm okay with throwing 12 because usually I'm getting a little bit bigger bites with those fish chasing around those herring. But I'm just reeling it slow, popping that rod tip, and that booger's going to be spinning and just kind of hopping down there. And I catch a lot of big fish on this. The next bait, probably one of my all-time favorite go-tos. It's the Mega Bass +1. You can go through our footage on our YouTube channel and find tons of footage on throwing a Mega Bass +1 jerkbait. We've caught so many big fish, from giant smallmouth to absolute giant largemouth. But it's a versatile bait on our lakes, you know, Lanier, Hartwell, Fontana, Glenville, Hiwassee, Notley, Chattooga. Our lakes are just deeper lakes, right? So we tend to utilize a deeper jerkbait, where a normal Vision 110 is really good for late spring when those fish are moving shallow or about to spawn. In that kind of late winter, even fall, winter, early spring, our fish are out on points and deeper water, and a lot of times they're hanging out in that 10 to 15 foot zone. So when they're in that 10 to 15 foot zone and they're just kind of cruising, or even deeper than that, I've seen fish come out of 20 foot of water using my Panoptics with this. But you know, this bait's going to get down there. It's called a +1, right? The normal Vision 110 runs about 4 foot, almost 5 foot down. This is +1 meter, so it puts it down there about 8 foot, 9 foot deep, and just snapping it on slack line, 12 pound, 10 pound or 12 pound fluorocarbon line. I catch a lot of big fish. Those fish are cruising around. They see this looking like a dying herring above them. They swim up, crush it. So it's a great bait, catches a ton of fish. Without question, one of the best baits to throw in the wintertime. Another one of my favorites, right? I always tell people I go for broke or I go for bites. And in the wintertime, I'm thinking about going for broke. There's a lot of bass that are looking for one meal. They're laid up on the bottom. They're looking for one meal, and they want it to be a big meal, whether it's a big gizzard shad, a big herring. On Fontana, I've literally pulled 11-inch herring out of the water. Trout, you know, the fish, some of the giant largemouth, giant spots and giant smallies are looking for trout, or just a bigger bait in the wintertime. I catch a lot of fish on a Huddleston 68, a Huddleston 6-inch, and a Huddleston 8-inch deluxe. They're great baits. Throw it out there, let it sink, slow roll it, boom, they eat it. You can catch some absolute monster fish rolling around docks when it's sunny, out on points, down in ditches. Next is the Duo Realis spy bait. So the Duo Realis spy bait is a super finessey technique. I throw it on 6 or 8 pound fluorocarbon line, and I'm casting this booger out. It sinks at about a foot a second, and it shimmies when it falls, just like this. And when you reel it through the water, it shimmies just kind of like this. If you reel it too fast, it kind of comes in straight, but if you reel it, kind of has a perfect speed where it just shimmies. When that water is brutally cold, I'm talking blistering cold, 38 degrees, you're just like, golly, I don't know if I'm going to catch anything out here. And it's calm, and it could be windy too, but I've really seen this bait produce when it's calm, just because it's such a natural do nothing action man, they will absolutely eat it. My last but not least bait fish imitator is the Alabama rig. This one is a Shane Baits. This one is the upper blades of glory that I actually ended up putting replacement arms to put more blades down on the bottom. It's used, it's been mangled, caught a ton of fish on it. I like putting 3.3s and even little easy shiners on it. But this bait imitates a big school of bait fish, wintertime, even the other day, late fall, you know, I caught a couple really good fish out at Lake James on it. Absolute fish killer. And just a great bait in the winter time. When you get those fish, they're like, man, I don't want to move. I don't want to come out of my wintering hole. I don't want to, you know, move a whole bunch and chase a bunch of bait fish. Well, when there's a big school that comes by real slow, they just can't help themselves. Purely instinct, they come out and smash it. So those are the guys that we're going to be throwing. We're going to be throwing a Ned rig too. A Ned rig is a great bait. Everybody throws a Ned rig in the winter time, a lot of finesse fishing. These are kind of my power, not even kind of, these are my power fishing or moving baits that I really like to throw in the winter time. There's a few other baits, but like a jig and spoon. I like throwing a jig and spoon when we're, you know, looking at the graph, and even using a Demiki axe blade, which I've got a big order of those coming in, so I couldn't show you one of those. I actually have one on my boat I could have grabbed. But anyways, so this is kind of the basis though of stuff I'm going to be throwing this winter on my guide trips, and our customers and our other guides are going to be using. So it's what we do. Book a trip, 828-354-0250. Appreciate you.